What's going on, guys? This is going to be our Summary of Markets Week 47 and Options Watch List. I actually made this video yesterday, but it's been stuck in processing on YouTube, so I'm going to go ahead and remake it. The video was going to be late anyway because I was away from the house all day on Sunday, but we're just going to get started and go over it just as we would on Sunday. It's just going to be a little different because it is going to be released on a Monday. So with the extra price action on SPY, we did see that it did gap up on Monday's open. You are testing that distribution range that I had drawn out from the old video. As long as we start to climb above 372.50, it should be bullish. Watch out for like a 1-day deviation if it does pop up and then reclaim. But for now, it looks pretty bullish. You did have good stimulus news where the $600 checks were approved. They're said to be going out to people within a week or two. So that should be pretty bullish. Keep an eye on that. They are also voting on $2,000 checks for stimulus instead, which I don't really know how that's going to work, because if they send out the $600 checks and then they approve the $2,000 checks, it's just going to be a $1,400 check. But we'll see how it plays out. They're going to vote on that later today, so depending on how that news plays out, could push around SPY a little bit. But the technical pattern is still the same. Above 372.50 looks pretty bullish. 367 small support, and then below 363 would be pretty bearish. Looking at gold, it still looks pretty bad, waiting on stimulus. Once the stimulus finally gets passed, it could go higher. I'm not saying it will, but if the stimulus does pass, the bigger the stimulus, the more bullish it is for gold, because the dollar is going to be weak. But you would have to break this downward channel for it to be bullish. If it breaks the downward channel, which it did fail today, it will be slightly bullish into 1920, 1950, and then upper 2000s. But right now, looks pretty bearish. 1800 would be your bearish target as long as that channel holds. Moving on to oil. Oil looks bullish as long as you hold above 46 and a quarter. You are kind of failing that fake out level for now. But if you do start to break that level, watch for 52 to be your next target. 46 would be the support. You break below that, 44 very likely. Moving on to Bitcoin, the targets that we gave you guys earlier, I think I changed these for the last video, but it was 26,100. That target was hit. I gave you guys a new target here. If you take the low from the impulse all the way up to the high where the pivot was, this would give you a new target around 27.7 and then 28.5. You hit your 27.7 target. You just barely missed your 28.5 target, but it still looks decently bullish. If you start to fail below this doji here, probably 25.2, 24.3 would be your lower targets and your support if it starts to bounce. With Ethereum, same thing. Take the low of the impulse all the way up. You have your targets coming in at 716, 735. Both those targets were hit today, so your next targets are 795 and then 816. Okay, so keep an eye on those. You have to hold above 735 to get these upper targets. So you want to see a little bit of consolidation here, maybe some support, and then you can go higher. If not, might come back down to 658, 637. That's it for the summary of markets. Let's move on to the options watch list. Most of the things that we're watching this week are the same things that we were watching last week. A lot of them just haven't played out yet. And for this week, most of the volume is going to be very low because we are the last week of the year. A lot of the smart money guys are not even trading. They're just going to wait for the new year. So the volume is going to be pretty low on most stocks. Today we saw a wide swing of moves. We had things that were green were very green. Things that were red were very red. So going over these, we'll see kind of how they played out today. But ladder still has to be above 10 and a quarter to get 1140, 1180. Overstock, I actually had this drawn out in the old video, but we'll talk about it here in the new video as well. You have to hold support right around, what is that, $50? And you could put in a bulldog here, like a double bottom, but it has to hold. It cannot go much lower. So in the video that I made for yesterday, I said that it looked like it wanted to come down and hit $50 and then put in a bull div. And that's exactly what's happening here. So as long as it holds in this $50 range and puts in this bull div and it confirms, this looks pretty good because you could put in a bulldog and then push higher. So keep an eye on that. Peloton, I also said that it looked like I wanted to pull back to 153, 150. And that's exactly what it's doing. So pull back to the gap fill looks pretty good. So keep an eye on that. As long as you stay above 149, it looks decent. Stay above 149, you could get 167 again, but that target was already hit. You basically topped out on that target almost to the penny. So this trade is pretty much over. So keep an eye on the gap fill. That could give you a new trade or support around 149. Snapchat, I said as long as it held 49, it looked pretty good. You're failing 49 right now. So you do look like you do want to go back down to like 45 and a half, maybe 44. That is your lower support. If you hold that support, you could easily go higher into that $60 final target. But for right now, it looks pretty bearish. Big C, I talked about in our last video how it looked like it wanted to come back down and test this support. That's exactly what we're doing. So as long as it holds this support, you are decently bullish, but it would be a very tight stop loss. So if you took a trade like this, your stop loss would have to be like 64, nothing much lower. And then your target would be the anchor DUAP around 75. PLTR, you're failing this bullish pennant. So as long as it stays below that bullish pennant, it's not looking very good. This thing looks like it wants to go back down to like 23, 22. It has to get back above like 28 very soon. AMD, this trade is basically over. 98 was your target. That target has already been hit. So it looks like it's going to go back down to like 89, maybe even 86. For now, there's really no trade on AMD. If you get back above 94, it could find a little bit of support, and that's about it. Neo, same thing here. You hit our target. 49 was our target, and now you're pulling back. So no real trade on this. If you do find support around like 42, 43, is there any pivots around there? Let's see. So you're losing a daily pivot right now. If you hold that daily pivot around 44 and a half, it could be bullish, but it has to hold here. It cannot go much lower. Moving on to Chegg, basically all of our targets on Chegg were hit. I told you guys above 77, it looked like I wanted to get 87. 92 was your next target, and then 100 is your next target. So if you hold above 92, look for 100. Teladoc, I told you guys above 200, you wanted to get 206. 206 has already been hit. So now I told you guys if it stayed above 206, you could get 220. You're not holding above 206. Now, what you could be doing is you could be putting in a bulldog, but it cannot go much lower. It has to bounce. So if it starts bouncing tomorrow or Wednesday, you could look for 220. That's about it. Starbucks, I told you guys above 101, above 100, you wanted to see 107. And that looks like you're playing out. 104, a little bit of resistance here, but not much. I think the daily is going to blow through this. And then 107, 109 would be your next targets. Lumber liquidators, it was looking really good. You had a target around, what is that, 35.75. You topped out a little early, and now we're pulling back to retest the breakout point. As long as you stay above 32, it looks decently bullish. But for now, we are pulling back to support. Zillow, I told you guys above, what was that? Above like 115, you were going to get 122, 125. Those targets were hit. I told you guys above 123, you'll get 132, 135. Those targets were hit. Next target, 145. That target was just barely missed, and now we're pulling back to 132 support. As long as you stay above 132, you should be able to get 145, 148. Square hit all of our targets, pulling back to support now. You had to stay above 227 to get like 237, 247. DraftKings, no trade on that. Pin, you would have to stay above 89. You're losing 89 here. If you get back above 89, stay above 92, 101 would be the target. Right now, it looks like it wants to pull back kind of into that trend line. AI pulling back to support. I would like AI inside the buy zone, like 140 to 130 for a long-term play. Right now, it's a little early. FSLY pulling back, so below that pivot doesn't look very good. You have a pivot around 96. If you stay above 96, it looks decently bullish. Below that, I would not trade it. Nordstrom looks really good here, JWN. If you get above that pivot, I think there's a pivot at like 31.5. You start holding above that, it looks really good. Walmart putting in a falling wedge kind of with a bull div here. You are gaining momentum. As long as you stay above like 144, it looks really good. Probably get 148, 149. If you get below 143, though, the trade is dead. Disney, I told you guys above 172, you get 180. Those targets were kind of hit today, 180, 181. So I would probably take profit. If you hold above 180, you could get 184. And then final target would be 195. Target, I told you guys above 170, you get 179. That is still playing out, so keep that trade plan. You could pull back to like 172, 173. That would still be decently bullish, but 179 is the final target. Most of these plays are still playing out. Nothing really new. RTX looks like a falling wedge. If you do find any buyers above like 71, this looks really bullish, but you have to get above 71. American Eagle, I like American Eagle for a kind of a flat top breakout, but you sold off end of day here, which looked a little bearish. But 21 would be the breakout target if you can hold above 20. Jeffries also looks really good above 24, so watch this above 24. It could go to 26. I like the curl on Siri here, but Siri has to hold above like 655 to look bullish. You would be then looking for around $7. Moving on to tech. Let's see. Microsoft looks really good above 226. That would be your local target. Hold above 226, 232 would be the target. You are breaking a big bearish downtrend. Our first target at Apple is being hit around 136. Next target 139 and then 147. Facebook hitting that 277 target as long as you held 265. 277 was the next zone of resistance. If we hold above 277, 285 and then 296 would be the targets. Netflix, I told you guys today, as long as you held above 510, it was looking like it wanted to go into 525. I told you guys you could have sold puts around that 510 area, and above 525, it wants to get 542. Amazon playing out our trade here. I told you guys above 3,200, very likely to get 3,400. You're already halfway there. A little bit of resistance at 33, but as soon as you regain 33, you should get 34. Tesla has to hold above 670, and then you'll get 711. That's basically the only trade on Tesla right now. Below 654, it's a little bearish. But that's it, guys. That's the summary markets and the options watch list. Sorry about it being a day late, but that is it for now. If you guys like the video, make sure to hit that like button. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.